What if the child you lost suddenly walked back into your life? What if time itself bent just to give you one more chance, one more heartbreak? In the mist-covered highlands of Scotland, the story of Jamie and Claire Fraser has always danced between love and fate, between the past and the future. But this time, fate does something it has never done before. It gives back what it once took away. In Season 8, Episode 1 of Outlander, something unbelievable happens. Faith Fraser, the daughter Jamie and Claire lost years ago, returns. Not as a memory, not as a ghost, but as a living, breathing woman who knows secrets about the future that could change everything. The world of Outlander has always been built on mystery, time travel, love that defies centuries, and choices that come with unbearable cost. But this episode isn't just about time. It's about destiny being rewritten. When Faith appears, the balance between past and present begins to collapse. Every heartbeat, every word, every tear Claire sheds begins to echo through history itself. The return of Faith isn't a simple miracle. It's a warning, a message wrapped in sorrow and hope. And for Jamie and Claire, her reappearance will test the limits of their love and their faith in each other. What happens when the very thing you've mourned for becomes the key to saving your world? As the episode unfolds, one truth becomes clear. The past never stays buried. And in Outlander, even the dead have stories left to tell. The episode opens with silence. Thick, haunting silence broken only by the soft rustle of the morning wind through the Scottish moors. The camera glides across the mist, revealing Claire standing alone outside Lallybroch. Her eyes are distant, fixed on the horizon. The war has ended, but peace has not found her heart. She still carries the shadows of every loss, every life torn away by time's cruel hand. Jamie steps out behind her, older now, his hair touched by gray, his gaze heavy but full of love. He wraps a shawl around her shoulders. "You're far away again, Sassenach," he says gently. She smiles faintly, but her voice trembles as she replies, "I keep thinking about what we've lost, and what we never had the chance to save." The air feels different, charged, as if something unseen watches them. The camera pans upward to the dark clouds gathering over the hills. A storm brews not in the sky, but in the timeline itself. Claire senses it, an unease, a ripple in time that makes her heart beat faster. She hears faint whispers in the wind. At first she thinks it's her imagination, but one word stands out. "Mama!" She freezes. The word slices through the air like lightning. Jamie notices her stillness. "What is it?" he asks, stepping closer. Claire's eyes glisten with tears. "I heard her name," she whispers. "Faith." Jamie's face tightens, disbelief flashing through his eyes. "It's just the wind," he insists, trying to protect her from the hope that always hurts the most. But Claire knows better. Her life has never been ordinary. Time has played its cruel tricks before, sometimes taking, sometimes giving. And now, as thunder rolls across the valley, she feels it in her bones. Something is coming. The episode's tension builds as the music swells, a haunting melody that echoes Faith's lullaby from Season 2. The camera zooms out, showing Jamie and Claire standing hand in hand against the brewing storm. The narration deepens. When the past refuses to stay silent, the future begins to unravel. And with that, the screen fades to black. A single flash of lightning illuminates a silhouette on the hill. Small, fragile, and impossibly familiar. Faith Fraser has returned. The storm has passed, but something in the air has changed. The sky, once gray and restless, now carries an eerie stillness, like the world itself is holding its breath. The camera drifts through the mist toward the old Lallybroch stables, where a faint humming breaks the silence. It's soft, pure, the same lullaby Claire once sang to a child who never lived long enough to hear it. Inside, a figure stands, a young woman, her back turned, dressed in simple 18th century linen. Her hair glows like sunlight breaking through rain clouds. The camera lingers on her hand, delicate, trembling as she traces the wooden stall door, whispering words in Gaelic under her breath. When she turns, the audience sees her face, and time stops. It's Faith. Not a ghost, not a vision, alive. Her eyes, the same soft blue as Claire's, stare ahead with a calm that doesn't belong to this century. She breathes slowly, almost as if remembering how. The shot cuts to Claire stepping into the doorway, her heartbeat echoing in the silence. "Who are you?" Claire asks, her voice barely holding together. The young woman looks up, her lips quivering. "You already know," she says softly. The way she speaks, so certain, so gentle, hits Claire like a blade wrapped in silk. Jamie appears behind her, protective and confused. "This canna be," he mutters. His hand grips his sword, though his heart already knows the truth. Faith takes one step forward. "You named me Faith because you never stopped believing," she whispers. "And I'm here because that faith called me back." The camera captures the disbelief on their faces, the terror, the awe, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, this is real. Claire touches Faith's face with trembling fingers. Warm, alive, real. Tears spill down her cheeks as she murmurs, "It's not possible." Faith smiles, and for a moment, it feels like the years between life and death collapse. "Time doesn't end where love begins," she says, "and I've come to fix what was broken." The tone shifts. Low thunder rumbles. The ground hums faintly as if the universe itself reacts to her words. The lanterns flicker. Jamie steps closer, his voice breaking. "If ye are who ye claim, then tell me, why now?" Faith's eyes glimmer with sadness. "Because the world you saved is about to end, unless we change what should never have happened." The music swells, strings trembling beneath her final words. The camera zooms in on Claire's face. Fear, wonder, and guilt intertwine. This isn't a blessing. It's a warning dressed in love. As Faith walks past them, the light bends around her. Shadows ripple across the walls like waves in time. The narration deepens, echoing through the silence. When time gives back what it once stole, it doesn't come without a price. The screen fades to black. Only the echo of Faith's footsteps remains, soft, haunting, and impossibly real. The night after Faith's return feels endless. Time stretches and folds, as if refusing to move forward. The camera moves slowly through Lallybroch's dim halls, candles flickering, shadows dancing like restless ghosts. The once familiar home now feels like a place caught between two centuries. Claire sits by the fire, her hands trembling as she stares at an old silver cup. She remembers holding it on the day she lost Faith, the day her heart cracked open forever. Now that same name echoes through the house once more, carried by a girl who should not exist. Jamie stands by the window, silent. His reflection in the glass seems older, heavier, burdened by too many impossible things. "She looks just like ye," he says quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Aye, but her eyes, they've seen something neither of us understands." Faith walks in, her presence lighting the room in a way that feels almost unnatural. "You're both caught in the wrong time," she says softly. "Every choice you've made rippled through the centuries. You saved lives, but you also changed the path of history." Claire looks up, confusion shadowing her face. "What do you mean?" Faith's voice shakes. "There are people who were never meant to live, and others who were never meant to die." Jamie frowns, stepping forward. "You're speaking in riddles, lass." Faith closes her eyes. "When you changed time to save Brianna, to stop the war, you opened something that was never meant to open again. The line between then and now, it's breaking." The camera pans across the room. Books trembling, glass cracking, clocks ticking out of rhythm. The sound design builds tension, mixing whispers, ticking, and faint crying from unseen voices. Claire grabs Faith's hands. "If what you're saying is true, how do we fix it?" Faith looks at her mother with a kind of love that carries centuries of sadness. "You can't fix time, Mama. You can only choose which version of it you can live with." The fire flares, illuminating their faces. 3 generations caught in one impossible moment. Jamie kneels beside them, his voice filled with pain. "So this is what it means, to meddle with God's design." Faith looks at her father, eyes glistening. "No, Da. It's what it means to love too deeply." The tension rises as the air hums, a vibration that seems to come from the walls themselves. The sound of a clock reverses. Outside, lightning flashes, but there's no thunder. The world is rewriting itself. Claire rushes to the window and gasps. The valley beyond Lallybroch isn't the same. The trees are gone. The land is barren. The world has shifted. Faith steps beside her, voice steady. You see it now? This is the price of love that crosses time. Jamie grips Claire's hand tightly, his voice shaking. If the world is changing because of us, then we must set it right. Even if it means losing her again. Faith looks at them both, her face full of sorrow. Then you must choose. Before time chooses for you. The camera zooms in on her tear-filled eyes. The sound of a clock breaking echoing through the silence. The screen fades to black, leaving only one thought in the air. Love can heal time, but it can also destroy it. The storm outside has grown quiet, but the world inside Lallybroch feels heavier than ever. The fire burns low, its glow flickering against walls that have seen too much. Faith sits near the hearth, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She looks older somehow, not in years, but in weight, as if every second. The fire burns lower now. Its light flickers against Faith's face, painting her in gold and shadow. Claire and Jamie stand across from her. Two souls who've crossed centuries for love, now facing the one thing they never thought possible. Their daughter, alive, and fading before their eyes. Faith's voice trembles as she speaks, soft but certain. I didn't come back to stay, she says. I came back because time is breaking. The camera lingers on Claire's expression. Disbelief, fear, a mother's heart torn open.
Breaking?
She whispers. What do you mean? Faith looks down at her hands. The skin flickers faintly, like light shimmering through water. Every time you crossed the stones, every time you tried to fix the past, something cracked in the line that connects the living and the lost. Jamie's jaw tightens. Then why bring ye back? Why show us what we cannot keep? Faith rises slowly, her movement almost weightless. Because the crack has become a doorway, she says, and through it, something is coming. Something that should never have been. The room darkens. The candlelight trembles. A low hum fills the air. Not of sound, but of time itself shifting. Claire steps forward, gripping Faith's shoulders. Then help us stop it. We can fix this together. Faith's eyes meet hers, blue against blue, mirror and reflection. You can't fix what was meant to happen, Mama. You can only choose which world you'll let survive. Jamie frowns, confusion and pain crossing his face. What world? Faith's voice softens. The one where I live, or the one where Brianna does. The words hang in the air like a sword. Claire gasps. Jamie's face pales. The silence that follows is suffocating. Faith continues, her voice breaking. There can't be two paths. My life was never meant to exist alongside Brianna's. When you saved her, when you changed time to protect her from the fire, the world shifted. Two timelines began to fight for space, and now, one must end. The music builds, low, sorrowful strings. Claire shakes her head. No, there has to be another way. Faith steps closer, tears glistening. There isn't, Mama. I've seen what happens if the world keeps both of us. Time collapses. Everything you love, everyone you saved, disappears. Even you and Da. Jamie's voice is rough, full of grief and pride. Then let it take me, if it means our daughters live. Faith looks at him, heartbreak flooding her gaze. It doesn't work that way, Da. Time doesn't take who you choose. It takes what it must. She turns toward the fire, her reflection shimmering faintly in the flames. I wasn't brought back to live, she whispers. I was brought back to remind you how every choice has a cost. And now, it's time to pay it. The wind howls outside, as if the world itself is mourning. The candles go out, one by one. Only the embers glow, soft and dying. The narration deepens, almost a whisper. Sometimes the past doesn't return to comfort us. It returns to collect what was owed. The scene fades to black. Faith's lullaby echoes faintly in the darkness, slow, sorrowful, and final. The house is silent now. Only the sound of rain against the windows remains, soft, steady, like the heartbeat of the world counting down to something inevitable. The fire has burned low, leaving behind the faint glow of dying embers. Claire sits on the floor, her face buried in her hands. Jamie stands near the window, staring into the endless gray of dawn. Faith is gone from sight, but her words still echo through the air like ghosts that refuse to leave. You can only choose which world you'll let survive. Claire's voice is quiet, almost lost. How can a mother choose between her children? She whispers. Her words tremble as they fall, heavy and raw. Jamie turns, his eyes hollow but filled with the love that's carried them through wars, loss, and centuries. Because ye must, he says softly, and I'll stand beside ye, no matter what choice ye make. The camera drifts closer, their faces caught in the flicker of light and shadow. They are older, worn by time, yet bound tighter than ever. Claire looks at him with eyes full of tears. If I choose wrong, Jamie, we lose everything. Jamie kneels before her, taking her hands in his. We've lost everything before, he says, but somehow, love always finds a way to bring it back. The sound of a clock begins to echo faintly, a deep, slow ticking that seems to come from nowhere. The air thickens, the walls begin to shimmer. Faith's voice returns, soft and far away. Time is waiting for your answer. The world around them starts to blur. Colors melting, objects fading. Claire clings to Jamie. I can't lose her again, she cries. Not Faith. Not after all these years. Jamie holds her tighter. And what of Brianna? What of her bairns and the life ye fought to give her? The camera cuts between their faces, torn, trembling, full of unbearable love. The ticking grows louder. The world begins to bend inward, the edges of the room twisting like ripples in water. Claire's breathing quickens. If I save Faith, Brianna disappears. If I save Brianna, Faith dies again. Jamie's voice breaks. Then choose the one who carries our future, Sassenach. Choose the one who can live free of the past's chains. Claire looks at him, heart shattered, but her eyes burn with resolve. And what if love itself breaks when I do this? Jamie leans forward, pressing his forehead to hers. Then let it break on our terms. Suddenly, the fire flares bright, impossibly bright. The air fills with light and wind. The clock stops ticking. Claire rises slowly, reaching toward the flame where Faith once stood. Her voice trembles as she whispers, I'm sorry, my darling girl, but I can't let the future die. The fire bursts into white light. Time folds. The house vanishes. For a brief, silent second, Faith's silhouette appears in the glow, smiling softly through her tears. Thank you, Mama, she says. Now time can breathe again. The light fades. The world resets. Claire gasps, standing in the morning sun. Jamie is beside her. The storm is gone. The house is whole. But Faith is no longer there. Claire's tears fall silently as the camera pans across the valley, golden and calm once more. Her voice, soft and breaking, closes the moment. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go, so the ones you love can live. The music swells, a haunting, beautiful string melody. The screen fades to black, and the ticking of the clock resumes, steady, certain, alive again. The first light of morning spills over the Scottish hills, soft and golden. The storm that tore through time has passed, leaving behind a strange, peaceful stillness. Lallybroch stands quiet once more, untouched, as if nothing had ever happened. But inside, everything has changed. Claire wakes on the couch, her face pale but calm. The fire has burned down to ash. For a moment she doesn't move, afraid that if she breathes, the fragile piece might shatter. Then she turns her head and sees Jamie, asleep beside her, his hand still wrapped around hers. He looks younger somehow, lighter, as though the weight of centuries has lifted from his soul. Claire sits up slowly, her eyes searching the room. The clock ticks again, steady and real. The world feels right. But there's a silence in her heart where Faith's voice used to be. She stands and walks toward the window. Outside, the valley glows beneath the sunrise. The air hums with life, with time restored. And yet for a fleeting moment she swears she sees a figure standing on the far hill, A girl in white, her hair dancing in the wind. Faith, she doesn't move, doesn't speak. She only smiles, a soft, knowing smile that carries both farewell and peace. Then the light catches her, and she fades with the morning mist. Claire presses her hand to the glass, whispering through tears, "Goodbye, my darling." Jamie wakes and joins her, slipping his arm around her shoulders. "You see her too, then?" he asks quietly. Claire nods, her voice breaking. But this time, I think she's where she belongs." They stand there in silence, watching the sunrise. The camera pulls back slowly, the two of them small against the endless beauty of the highlands. The narrator's voice returns, soft and reflective. Time gives and takes as it pleases. But love is the one thing that refuses to fade. It lingers in every breath, in every heartbeat, across every century. Cut to a close-up of Claire's face as she wipes her tears and looks to Jamie. "Do you think she's at peace?" she asks. Jamie smiles faintly. "Aye, Sassenach, she's with the angels, and maybe watching over us still." A gust of wind blows through the window, carrying a whisper. Soft, gentle, almost like Faith's voice. "Mama." Claire closes her eyes and smiles through her tears. The camera lingers on her expression. Grief and grace intertwined. Then suddenly the faint sound of footsteps echoes outside. The camera pans to the doorway. A shadow moves across it. Not Faith, not Brianna. Someone else. Jamie straightens, his expression sharp. "Did you hear that?" Claire nods, tension returning to her face. She steps forward, her voice cautious. "Who's there?" A pause. Then a man's voice answers from the darkness. Calm, familiar, and chilling. "It's time we talked about what Faith left behind." The screen cuts to black. The Outlander theme swells softly beneath the silence. Text fades in. Outlander, Season 8, Episode 2. The Legacy of Faith. The final narration whispers, "Every ending is only the beginning of another story, and time never forgets its debts." Fade out.